Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Prana Chakshu Shrotramatho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarod Anirakaranam Astu Nirakaranam Mestu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmas ते मयि संतु ओम शांति शांति शांति. May my limbs, speech, vital force, eyes, ears, as also strength and all the organs become well developed. Everything is the Brahman revealed in the Upanishads. May I not deny Brahman. May not Brahman deny me. Let there be no spurning of me by Brahman. Let there be no rejection of Brahman by me. May all the virtues that are spoken of in the Upanishads repose in me, who am engaged in the pursuit of the self. May they repose in me. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, in the Kena Upanishad, which is the original text, is divided into 4 chapters. We are in the 4th chapter and the very end of the 4th chapter. Now comes a very interesting, more than interesting, a rather peculiar section. After the entire teaching, the student pops up most unexpected question. After listening to the Upanishad, the student asks, please teach me the Upanishad. Will you please teach me the Upanishad? Why and what does that mean? So let's go into that. This is the 7th mantra. Upanishadam bho bruhi tyuktata Upanishad brahmim vavata Upanishadam abrumeti. The disciple says, Sir, speak of the secret knowledge, Upanishad. Teacher, I have told you of the secret knowledge. I have imparted to you that very secret knowledge of Brahman. So this is the text, which is a little strange because the Upanishad has been taught. That was the original question. What is that by which we have all our experiences? The very experience of living, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, speaking, the very breath in our nostrils, all of that illumined by what? And then the teacher taught about the Atman, about Brahman. Now the student asks again, what is the question? Please teach me the Upanishad. Now, I will use Shankara's commentary. He will dig into this mystery and come up with a very interesting possibility. Why is this question is being asked, and what's the significance of the question and the very great significance of the answer? We'll see. For that, I have to go to Shankara's commentary, which I will do shortly. Yes. So Shankara says, Upanishadam rahasyam yatchintyam bho bhagavan bruhi iti. Oh sir, oh master, tell me about the Upanishad. Now the Upanishad, in fact, one meaning, an ancient meaning of the word Upanishad is rahasya vidya, the secret knowledge or the secret teaching. The Upanishads themselves were not openly imparted, so they were kept secret. And they were, other than what we read as Upanishads, there were many other secret teachings in the Vedas. So sometimes the secret teachings in the Vedas are called Upanishad, which includes what we study today as Upanishads also, like the Kena Upanishad. But also there's some other stuff. So the student is asking, give me that secret knowledge. What is something that's very deep? Shankaracharya says, Yat Chintyam, that's worthy of being meditated over, that's worthy of being inquired into. Teach me that secret knowledge. So that's a very ancient meaning of the term Upanishad, secret knowledge. Just by the way, in Vedanta today, how do we understand the term Upanishad? Shankaracharya helps us here. In his commentaries, he has clearly defined the term Upanishad. He has investigated etymologically and shown us the meaning of the term Upanishad. So what's the meaning of the term Upanishad for us as Vedantins, as students of Vedanta? The word Upanishad is composed of three parts, etymologically speaking: Upa, Ni, and Sat. Upa, Ni, Sat. Upa means to approach. Literally, it means to sit near. So upasana, for example, means to sit near. Upa means to come close. So coming close to the knowledge, or coming close to the knowledge in the sense coming close to the teacher, for example, like signing up for the YouTube class. That might be one meaning of upa. You're coming close to the knowledge, taking part in this teaching learning process. That's upa. Ni means nishchayena, clarity, conviction. It's an important point here. It is not something that we just read and we get some information. It's not something that is vague. It's not something that is confused. It's not something that is subject to doubt. Not vague, not confused, or subject or infected by doubt. So vague is, I generally have some idea about what the Upanishads want to say. No, one must have great clarity there. Not confused. So vagueness and confusion are different. A person may not be very vague about it, but may have a confused understanding of what the Upanishads are teaching us. No, though I'm very clear about what the Upanishads are teaching me. You are Brahman. The central teaching of the Upanishad is I am Brahman. Tattvamasi, you are that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Hold on to that. That's the central teaching of all these texts. So clarity must be there. Then third, doubt. So I may have knowledge, I am Brahman, but I have a few little niggling doubts. So all doubts have to be removed. All of this comes under nishchayena, with clarity, with conviction. I have no doubt at all. I have met monks, Vedanta monks, who have told me that I asked them, so are you enlightened? A very senior monk who has passed since. And he said, no, I don't think I have. I asked him, did you have some extraordinary enlightenment experience? He said, no. But conviction, 100%, more than 100%. I still remember with tremendous force. The conviction of the Vedantic truth that I am Brahman, that I am not the body, not the mind, I am the witness consciousness, I am Brahman. Conviction, 100%. This is not a small thing. This is the meaning of the word ni. A person might have many extraordinary experiences, mystical experiences, and yet no conviction. Might be open to doubt and getting shaken once in a while. Still more or less convinced that I am the body. Yes, I had a wonderful experience of feeling one with the universe. I wonder if I will ever get that back again. Or I had this extraordinary experience of a pure light. I wonder if I'll ever experience anything like that again. Right now, what are you? Just this guy. So the basic idea about oneself has not shifted in spite of whatever experience one might have had. So that is not Upanishadic knowledge. That is not Vedanta. Much greater than all those experiences is what that monk told me. 100% convinced. I have no doubt at all. That's a very valuable thing. It has shifted. The identification of the I. What does the word I, the vertical I, what does it point to? Does it point to this? Or does it point to what the Upanishad is telling me? It points to what the Upanishad is telling me. This is what we chant before every class in Kena Upanishad. Maham Brahma Nirakuryam. May I not deny Brahman. So I have understood it. I have heard it all. I have studied the books. I can teach it to you. But internally, am I denying it? Internally, am I still holding on to my whatever was there before coming to Vedanta? The same identity, the same personality. No. So this is ni. And then the verb sat, it's a verbal root. It has three meanings. One is visharana, avasadana, gati. So it destroys ignorance. So Upanishad is that which destroys ignorance. What ignorance? Ignorance about ourselves. That's the first meaning of the verbal root sat. It destroys ignorance. I did not know that I am Brahman. Now I know. My ignorance is gone. I must be able to say how? With ni, with conviction. with clarity. Second, it gati means avagati, that means realization. It makes me realize who I am, that I am Brahman. Literally takes me to Brahman, but takes me means I realize that I am Brahman. Gati means to realize, to come to know. It dawns upon me. I realize that I am Brahman. Second meaning. The third meaning is avasadhana means to loosen. It loosens the bonds of samsara. If you're fully enlightened, if you're a Jivan Mukta, you're free of samsara. And even if not, even before that, if you can convince, if you can declare with conviction, like that monk told me, 100% convinced. So the bonds of samsara are already loose for that person. That person has a much lighter, happier life than the rest of us have. We are entangled. That person is no longer entangled. He will not claim to be Jivan Mukta, but like free while living, but still he has conviction. He makes a small claim. He doesn't want to make the full claim. A small claim, I'm convinced about what the Upanishad tells me. So the bonds of samsara are loosened. There's a technical meaning to that also. The bonds of samsara are loosened in classical Vedanta. Say, one is the realization that I am Brahman. That's what Vedanta aims at. But also, if one leads a Vedic lifestyle and follows this kind of a pious, religious, spiritual life with ritual, upasana, that is worship, and knowledge, even if one is not enlightened, one does not attain moksha in this life, one will go to what is called Brahmaloka, the highest heaven, the realm of Brahma, from which there is no return. They will remain there, and at the end of the cycle of the universe, they will attain to full liberation. So in that sense, the bonds of samsara are also loosened in a very cosmic sense, that you will never come back. Even if you are not fully liberated, you will never come back into this very world. Now, so this is the meaning of the term Upanishad in the classical meaning. This is not what we are talking about here. Classical meaning in the sense Vedanta. As students of Vedanta, if anybody asks you, what does Upanishad mean? You're studying Upanishad, but the word itself, we know Upanishad means these texts. So the Upanishad means that the Shankaracharya raises the question, but by Upanishad we mean books. Yes, only secondarily. The book does not really make you realize you're Brahman. The book doesn't loosen the bonds of samsara. The book does not destroy ignorance directly. It is the knowledge, the realization, the Brahma Jnana that destroys ignorance, makes you realize you're Brahman, and loosens the bonds of samsara. But secondarily, because the book gives us that knowledge, because we get that knowledge from the book, that's why the book is also called Upanishad. So these distinctions are important. We may not bother about it. Book is Upanishad, knowledge is no, the knowledge itself, that knowledge which we call enlightenment, technically Brahma Jnana, the realization that I am Brahman, that knowledge is called Upanishad. That's the primary meaning of the word Upanishad. Coming near that knowledge, getting that absolute clarity, conviction, and destroying ignorance, realizing that I am Brahman, loosening the bond of samsara. This is the meaning of Upanishad. However, in this, the more ancient meaning of Upanishad, the Vedic meaning of Upanishad as Rahasya Vidya, secret knowledge, that is what the student is referring to. Impart to me that secret knowledge. And the teacher says, Shankaracharya is writing in his commentary, Ka Punasa, what is that secret knowledge? So the teacher says, Brahmim Brahmana Paramatmana iyam Brahmi tam Paramatma Vishayatvad Atita Vijnanasya. He says, the knowledge which I have, Atita Vijnana means the knowledge which I have given you so far. Whatever we have studied in the first 4 chapters till now. That knowledge is the knowledge about Brahman, the ultimate reality. See, we might say, yes, that's what we are discussing. True, but put it in context, because the word Upanishad means lots of things, lots of different kinds of secret knowledge. The secret knowledge which we are talking about here is the knowledge about Brahman, the ultimate reality, the knowledge about who we are. That knowledge has been imparted to you by me. There is the word used, vava, eva, an important word we will see later. That knowledge alone, That's what I have been telling you so far. And this knowledge is about Brahman. It's not some other kind of secret knowledge. So, the Upanishad abrumeti. I have already taught you the Upanishad. Paramatma Vishayam, about the Supreme Self, about our real nature, that I am Brahman, Satchidananda. I've taught you that. By the way, destroying the bonds of samsara, that's what Shiva does. Today's Shivaratri tonight, destroying the bonds of samsara. And I was just thinking, every day we sing to Sri Ramakrishna, the first line of the Arati, Khandana Bhava Bandhana. So what is the essence of Sri Ramakrishna? Who is Sri Ramakrishna? What does he do for us? What he does for us is, Swami Vivekananda wrote that. He wrote a hymn to Sri Ramakrishna, which we sing all our ashrams every day in the evening. Here also we were singing a little while ago. Khandana Bhava Bandhana. That's the Arati song. And the first line that Vivekananda wrote about Ramakrishna, that he is the one who destroys the bonds of samsara. That is the Shiva nature of Ramakrishna, that he destroys the bonds of samsara. I have taught you this. So this is the introduction into this mantra. Now, it's not enough. See, it's a very mysterious question. Why suddenly at this point the student asks, teach me Upanishad? So one needs to inquire into it, and Shankaracharya does. He does an inquiry and gives a pretty fascinating and important insight. We'll see. Shankaracharya says, I'm quoting from his commentary and then I'll translate. Paramatma Vishayam Upanishadam Shrutavata Upanishadam Bho Bruhi iti Prichyata Shishyasya Ko Abhipraya. Having heard the entire Upanishad, yes, it's about Brahman, it's about the Supreme Self. That's also very clear in the Upanishad. The teacher doesn't have to repeat it. So, having heard it, why does the student again ask, what's the hidden intent? Ko abhipraya. What's the hidden intent in the student's question? We need to question the question. Why is this question coming at this point? It's rather mysterious. Yadi tavat shrutasya arthasya prashna kritaha tataha pishtapeshanavat punarukti anarthakas prashnasyat. So, first of all, the most obvious thing, let's put it aside. Is he asking a question about what was taught? That please teach it to me again. Let's put that aside, because that's what is called, it's a fault. If you teach something and repeat it, then it's a fault. It's called prishtapeshana, grinding a masala which has already been ground. So you grind it again, there's no need. So Shankaracharya says, like grinding something that has already been ground, it is a repetition and it is useless, and therefore the question would be meaningless. So that's not the intent of the student. He's not asking the teacher to teach all of that again. He's not asking the teacher to teach what has been taught. The Upanishad which has been taught, he's not asking about that. Then what else? What else could be? Atha savashesho ukta Upanishad syat तत्र तस्याः फलवचनेन उपसंहार न युक्तः प्रीत्यस्मात् लोकाद् अमृता भवन्ति. Is he asking that is the teaching complete? Is there something remaining? That's a good point. So you have taught me, and then you told me the story, you told me the meditations. Good. Is anything remaining? Is the Upanishad complete, or is anything remaining? Is there one more part to the Upanishad which is remaining? Because something else will come after this. So that's the question. That's why the question is important. What will come up after this? So is it the Upanishad? And Shankaracharya says, no, the Upanishad has been taught. How do we know? Whatever comes, there's something else which will come later, but that's not really the Upanishad. That's not the knowledge which will liberate us. So how do we know the Upanishad teaching is complete? Shankaracharya says, by noticing the result has already been spoken of. Remember, when it reached the high point, pratibodha veditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. In every experience, when Brahman flashes, when it is revealed inside, outside, within our minds, in the world outside, in every cognition, Brahman shines forth, then amritatvam hi vindate. One attains to immortality. freedom from samsara, immortality, moksha. The result has already been given. If the Upanishad were remaining to be taught, if there is some vital portion of the Upanishad which is remaining, he shouldn't have stated the what is called phala, the result. The fact that the result has been already spoken of earlier in the earlier chapter, that in the second chapter, in fact, the result has already been spoken of. That means the central teaching has already been imparted. So nothing more remains over. Not that the Upanishad is remaining. Pretyasmad lokad amrita bhavanti. We read this, that when you recognize Brahman in every experience, one will attain to immortality. Leaving this body behind at the end of the life of this particular body, you'll attain to videha mukti, bodiless liberation. In this body, you will transcend the body-mind identification and attain jivan mukti while you're continuing in this life. It's already been done. It's finished. So that also, that option, the second option, is something remaining in the Upanishadic teaching. So is that is he asking for completing the Upanishad? Is the student asking the teacher? No, that can't be. Whatever has to be taught, central teaching, Upanishadic teaching is complete. Whatever you need for enlightenment is complete. Then what else? Tasmad Upanishad Shesha Upanishad Shesha Vishayopi Prashna Anupapanna Eva Anavasheshitvat. Therefore, there is no portion remaining in the Upanishad. It's complete in itself. So, one important point is being mentioned here, that you don't need any other accessory. Whatever has been taught in the Kena Upanishad now, that one teaching about our real nature, that's enough for liberation. Whatever else will be taught, we'll see what it pertains to, whatever else is remaining now, but it is not essential to liberation. Liberation will be attained by that knowledge that I am this one limitless consciousness. Anyway, but still that doesn't solve our problem. What is the meaning of the question? Why did the student ask, teach me Upanishad? So this Shankaracharya says, Kastarhi avipraya prashtu ityuchyate. So what is the point? What is the hidden intent of the student asking this question? Listen to this, Shankaracharya says. Kim purvokta Upanishad sheshataya tat sahakari sadhanantarapeksha atha nirapeksheva sapeksha ched apekshita vishayam Upanishadam bruhi atha nirapeksha ched avadharaya pippaladavat natas parasmat natap paramastiti evam avipraya. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Shankaracharya says the hidden intent is this: is there anything remaining which we have to plug into the Upanishad? You get a device from the shop and some accessories are not there, it will not work unless you get those accessories. So is there something remaining? And that's the hidden intent of the student. Tell me that which will complete the Upanishad, by which I will attain liberation. And the answer of the teacher is no, nothing is remaining. Knowledge is enough to solve your problem. It's like the classic rope and the snake example. The knowledge that it's not a snake, it's a rope, that's enough. If you ask, okay, I know that, but do I need a stick to drive away the snake? Do I need special mantras to chant so that to cure the snake bite, or to scare the snake away? No, none of them. And none of that will help. All that will help is the knowledge it is not a snake, it's a rope. That knowledge itself, by itself, is enough to solve your problem. Similarly here, the knowledge of who we are, what you are, is enough to solve your problem. Nothing else needs to be added here. I'll tell a story. Since we are all Vedantins, it's fine. It has the potential to be misunderstood. People may feel hurt. So this is a story among Vedantis, among the sadhus in the Himalayas. I'll translate into English. Originally, I heard it in Hindi. It's like this. When Hanuman goes in search of Sita to Lanka, where she has been kidnapped and imprisoned. So he's in search of Sita. And we know that everybody knows this story. Every kid in India knows the story, how the demons, the Rakshasas, they captured Hanuman. And the story is that the the they used the most powerful divine weapon, the weapon given by the gods called the Brahmastra. So to knock Hanuman out, because they couldn't, Hanuman was too powerful. They couldn't fight him in a fair battle and win. So they unleashed the Brahmastra, which is like your latest, smart weapons, missiles, drones, or something like that, maybe. And so the Brahmastra goes up to Hanuman, and the Brahmastra, this divine weapon, this extremely powerful weapon, goes to Hanuman and says, "Look, I am Brahmastra, and it's a prestige issue for me. I know I won't have any effect on you, but could you please pretend that you've been knocked out so that my prestige is at stake. So I'm like the most powerful weapon." And Hanuman says, "Of course, you're the weapon of the gods, of the king of the gods, of Brahma, and so I will be knocked out. Come and hit me, and I will fall unconscious." So Brahmastra breathes a sigh of relief. At least it's up to its branding. The branding is the most powerful weapon, so it will not lose any brand, what you call brand equity or something. And Hanuman is knocked out. So that's the story. That story is part of Ramayana, we know. And then the next part is also there in the Ramayana, that the demons, the Rakshasas, they're always plagued by doubt. Doubt is one of the characteristics of a demon. So Hanuman has been knocked out, but they're a little scared of this giant monkey. So if he comes around again, who will stop him? Is it enough? Shouldn't we tie him up also, so that we can secure him? So they proceed to have lots of ropes and tie up Hanuman also. Now Brahmastra is greatly insulted. "What? You foolish demons? Because of me, Hanuman is unconscious and you were able to capture him. Now you want to supplement my power with ropes. Where is Brahmastra, the weapon of the gods, the greatest weapon of all of the gods? And where is your rope?" So he's highly insulted and he says, "Bye, see you." And he leaves. Brahmastra leaves Hanuman and goes away. And of course, Hanuman comes back into awareness. He could have, but he was giving some, and out of politeness, he was behaving himself while Brahmastra was around. When Brahmastra leaves the scene, he disappears back into heaven. Hanuman comes around, and you know how he destroys the kingdom. He burns down Lanka and all of that. Okay, that's the story. Now, what's our relationship with Vedanta? Vedanta is the king of philosophies. Vedanta is the supreme spiritual knowledge. It is the non-dual realization that I am Brahman. Nothing more is needed. To supplement Vedanta with mantras, with some devotional practices, with some rituals, not necessary. You are diminishing the glory of Vedanta. Don't bring in anything else. You have reached the pinnacle of spiritual life. There is nothing which compares to Vedanta. This non-dual Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta. So the sadhus there say, don't try to supplement it. There's no need at all. Don't worry, Vedanta is not like Brahmastra. It will not disappear in a peak. It will just, Vedanta will just sort of shrug and say, all right, you want to supplement it, do this and that, try it out. But there is really no need. Anyway, so that's the story. That's the point that Shankaracharya is making. And that's the point that the Guru is making. You don't need any supplement. There is no other supplement. I have taught you all that is to be taught. That's it. Uktate Upanishad. I have told you the Upanishad. I have conveyed the teaching. Nothing more than this is needed. Shankaracharya has a long commentary. Does knowledge need to be supplemented with ritual? Jnana karma samuchaya. This is one of the places where Shankaracharya drives him wild, so he goes on the attack mode. There is no need to combine ritualism with knowledge. Knowledge is enough to give you liberation. So that's his whole point. Anyway, so that's the way he solves this peculiar thing, that Why did he ask again, teach me the Upanishad? Because he's asking an important question. Is this enough for liberation? Or do I need something more? That leaves another question unanswered. Then it should end now. But some practices will be told by the Upanishad next. In the next section, in the next mantra, some practices are being mentioned. What are those practices? And so Shankara explains those practices are not part of, remember, they are not part of Upanishad. Remember, when he says not part of Upanishad, we might be surprised, but it is part of the Upanishad. It's in the book. Look, remember, he means Upanishad in the original sense of the term, that it is that knowledge, it is that enlightenment. It's not part of that enlightenment. However, it's an important point he makes. The next teachings will be about ethical life, about self-control, about discipline. So those teachings, those are preparatory. They are not part of enlightenment. So what is being said here, one must understand the distinction. You don't need enlightenment, the realization that I am Brahman, plus discipline, ethical life to be free. No. In fact, what you need is this disciplined life, moral life, ethical life first, then enlightenment comes, which gives you freedom. Enlightenment by itself, Brahma Jnana. By enlightenment, I mean Brahma Jnana, the Upanishadic knowledge, the Upanishad itself. The knowledge that I am Brahman gives you freedom. That's enough. But preliminary to that, on the way in our spiritual life, we must clean up our lives. As Americans say, clean up your act. Clean up our lives. Have a moral life. Have a disciplined life. Control, discipline, ethical life. As sadhus, they say, छोड़ोगे तो सही महात्मा जी, साफ करके छोड़ो. You will get rid of it. Yes, all samsara will go. This life, you are going to transcend it, no doubt. But clean it up first. Clean up your life first. So here the question might be, if everything is complete, why this next set of practices? And Shankaracharya's subtle answer there is, this next set of practices is not like the rope for plus Brahmastra to catch hold of Hanuman. No, it is not that these practices plus enlightenment, plus your knowledge, these practices plus your knowledge that I am Brahman, that will give you liberation. No, the knowledge that I am Brahman is enough to give you liberation. But these practices are preliminary to that knowledge. If these practices, they are not unimportant. Without these practices, that knowledge will not come. That clarity will not come. That conviction will not come. That realization, that transformative, freeing realization, I am Brahman, it will not come. So these practices are important, but they are not to be confused with spiritual realization. They are preliminary to spiritual realization. They do not comprise part of Upanishad. They comprise part of the book. Certainly, it's in the book. But they do not comprise part of Upanishad in the sense of enlightenment. They are prior to enlightenment. All right. But that doesn't mean we can do without it. No. We cannot become, good, then God. You cannot become spiritual without being a good person first. So good person and then spiritual person. So with all this, we go into the next part. That discussion was, why is this part there at all? This part is there because it's a preliminary. Tasya tapo dhamma karmeti pratishtha veda sarvangani satyamayatanam. What does it mean? Concentration, cessation from sense objects, rights, etc. are its legs. The Vedas are its limbs. Truth is its abode. All right. So enlightenment is based, the foundation for that, firm foundation for that is an ethical life, disciplined life. First, tapaha. Tapa means austerities. What are austerities? So for example, Shivaratri, you fast. Some people are fasting tonight. Or there are yogis who will stand in cold water and recite their prayers, the mantras, or some physical austerity. There is austerity of the speech, which is, I will not speak, say, on this particular day or for these many days. That's austerity of the speech, like that. What are these austerities? These are practices, these are disciplines for getting control over ourselves. See, this body is an instrument. The senses are instruments. And they have instruments which have gone out of control. Upanishad says they're like horses. Kathopanishad, it says they're like horses, which are untrained and unruly. So you have tremendous difficulty controlling them. I am on my way to a destination, God realization, enlightenment. But the horses are not responsive. They're pulling this way and that way. The eyes want to see that. I wanted to read Upanishad. The eyes want to see TV serial or something else. Or they want to look at the latest message in social media. So it's not really the eyes, it's the mind behind it. But the senses, the tongue. I want to meditate. The tongue wants to eat its favorite foods. And once you eat that, your stomach is engaged in that, and there's the prana will be used up for that. You don't feel light for meditating. You feel heavy. You don't feel like meditating at all. So the unruly senses, like unruly horses, they can sabotage our spiritual life. In fact, they do. The reason why we do not feel a strong urge towards spiritual life, the occasional urge we feel, but strong urge, consistent urge towards spiritual life we don't feel, is because we haven't got the mind and senses under control. So to get the mind and senses under control, deliberately bringing them under control, deliberately depriving them. I want to eat. No. Won't eat one day? No problem at all. Nothing will happen. In fact, it might be, doctor said it's good for the system actually. But I really want to eat. Then you say, no, I don't want to eat. I am the witness consciousness. This is the mind and the tongue which wants to taste and enjoy. I am going to stop it for one day. No harm. Good only. I want to see those things. No, I have decided that those things are not conducive to my spiritual life, conducive to my moral life. They are only disturbing me. I will not see. I will not do these things, and I will do these things. And the senses, they rebel because they have been used to certain laxity earlier. So that strain, that literally tapa means heat, heat. So when we forcefully try to pull back, restrain ourselves, a kind of psychic heat is generated, and that heat is power. That heat is power. And that gives us control over our body mind. And you have control over the body mind, especially the mind, body, senses, mind, especially the mind. You'll have control over your environment also. You'll see everything responds much more easily to you when you are in charge of yourself. And Krishna put it this way: you are your best friend, you are your worst enemy. And then he explains in the next verse that why in the Bhagavad Gita, who is the best friend, who is the worst enemy? You are your best friend when you have been conquered by yourself. You are your worst enemy when you are uncontrolled, when you have not been conquered by the self, has not been conquered by the self. What self is being conquered by the self? Here the self means mind. The mind which is responds to you. You know you are not the mind. And curiously enough, the mind still doesn't respond to us. That means the mind has not been brought under control. But bringing the mind under control is called austerity. Mind, senses, body. I remember this monk in Gangotri. I was sitting there with him, old Swami Sundarananda. He was the Sevak of Tapovan Maharaj, who was the guru of Chinmayanandaji. We were sitting together, and some devotees had come, ladies from some well-to-do family, obviously, from somewhere in North India, as far as I remember. And he was talking about his daily routine. He's been there in Gangotri for 60 years or 70 years, like that. Very austere life. And I still remember one of the ladies said, how do you live like this, Swamiji? We can't do without our bed tea. To get up in the morning and have bed tea. And his answer was very simple. He said it is nothing very great. It's a matter of practice. The body will get used to it. So it's a matter of practice. It's nothing, this disciplined lifestyle is simply a matter of practice. It is not a great feat in itself. So tapaha, austerity. Now, this austerity, Shankaracharya, he makes this point that the greatest austerity is concentration. The greatest austerity is concentration. He says all kinds of austerity, they finally end up in developing our power of focus, the ability to stay in spiritual life, in your japa, in your meditation, in your Vedanta vichara, in stillness, in steadiness for a long period of time. that concentration is developed by austerity. So a variety of austerities may be there, but the point is concentration. Then damaha makes a special point, cessation from sense objects. Swami Vivekananda says, Jnana Yoga, this Advaita Vedanta, the Vedanta, in one place Swami Vivekananda says, it consists chiefly in the restraint of the senses. Consists chiefly in the restraint of the senses. Now we might think, what a strange way to summarize Jnana Yoga. We think Jnana Yoga is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, studying Vedanta, then reasoning about it, and non-dual meditation, whatnot. We have been studying all this, Upanishads, Gita. But Swami Vivekananda says it consists chiefly in the restraint of the senses. After all this knowledge, we must bring our lives in accordance with this knowledge. And the most powerful practice there is the restraint of the senses. In the Gita, Krishna speaks about it again and again and again. Indriyas, control of the senses. That's the meaning of the term damaha, control of the senses. Karma. Karma here means rituals. So the Vedic rituals which you do, and nowadays we don't do that, we do, Hindus do puja, like Shivaratri puja, for example. So he says those are also very helpful. It is not against Advaita Vedanta. All these ritualistic practices, they help us. They help us towards enlightenment. Pratishtha, so they are the legs, the foundation of enlightenment. Veda sarvangani satyamayatanam. Its limbs are the Vedas. So the Upanishads and the whole Vedas in general, they're what constitutes this Vedantic knowledge. Satyamayatanam, the abode, the home of enlightenment, liberation, self-realization, is truth. One sadhu said, you are searching for ultimate reality, but you can't stick to your daily reality, can't tell the truth. How is it this tremendous contradiction? I am not strict about telling the truth in my day-to-day life, and I say that my whole life is the search of ultimate reality. Ultimate reality sounds very philosophical and abstract. It's nothing more than truth. It's nothing more than truth. What I know to be real right now in our day-to-day life, if I can't hold on to that, how am I going to hold on to the ultimate reality of the universe? So, truth is the abode, is foundational. If there is one thing you need to hold on to, it is truth. Sri Ramakrishna said, Shotto Koli Tapasya. The austerities, the spiritual practice in this Kali Yoga is truth. Holding on to truth, and holding on to truth is not at all easy. Holding on to truth, we will be put through the furnace. Life will become difficult for us. So holding on to the truth is good. That difficulty is tapasya. The difficulty we will go through by holding on to the truth, but be careful. Holding on to the truth doesn't mean going around and telling nasty things to people. I'm holding on to the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth about yourself. No, truth about oneself. There is a term in Greek philosophy, pharesia. Pharesia means the truth telling. What is truth telling? The ability to tell a damaging truth, not about others, about myself. Sri Ramakrishna says, যে পটপট করে নিজের দুর্বলতাগুলো বলে দিতে পারে, তার মধ্যে বুঝতে হবে মাল আছে তার মধ্যে. One who can, in a simple way, what is say in Hindi, saral, in a simple way, acknowledge one's weaknesses. One must admit that. That shows that person has substance. One does not try to hide. Not that you have to go around confessing all your known and unknown problems to everybody. No, but don't hide. Be simple and straight. So truth. Anyway, the point is tremendous importance of truth in spiritual life. One must be careful about the truth. It says spirituality dwells in truth. The house of spirituality is truth. Then number 9, last conclusion of the Upanishad. Yo va etamevam vedapahatya papmanam anante swarge loke jeye pratitishthati. Anyone who knows this, who realizes this thus, Thus means the way it has been taught. He, having dispelled sin, remains firmly seated in the boundless, blissful, and highest Brahman. He remains firmly seated there. Okay. So this is the conclusion of the Upanishad. What does it mean? Yova etam evam veda. Who, the one, the student, the spiritual seeker who realizes what has been taught in the Upanishad, eva, in the way it has been taught. What has been taught in that way? This very knowledge which we find in the Upanishad, one who realizes, I am Brahman. Then what will happen? Apahatya papmanam, overcoming sin. What does overcoming sin mean? Shankaracharya says, Shankaracharya says, Apahatya papmanam, I'm quoting from Shankara's commentary, avidya kama karma lakshanam samsara bijam vidhuya, overcoming the seed of samsara. Your papa, sin means the seed of samsara. What is the seed of samsara? Shankaracharya explains. Avidya kama karma. This is a phrase which he is fond of. Avidya, ignorance. Ignorance about our real nature. Leading to kama, desire. Since I do not know I am Brahman, I think I am this fellow Sarvapriyananda. Then every desire from this body and this mind, the senses, it becomes my desire. And then in identification with body mind, I do karma. I engage in action. So see the causal link. Ignorance, desire, action. Action based on desire. Ignorance leading to desire, desire leading to action. Once you engage in action based on desire, you're caught in the machine. Action will give rise to result. And then the samsara chakra will go on. I do good and bad actions, I will get good and bad results. The results will continue in the next life. It will give me another life, another body, another existence. And all the time, I am doing stuff in this world. Some of it is good, moral, some of it is immoral. Why am I doing stuff? Because I want certain things. Why do I want certain things? Because I find myself a very limited, small creature. Why do I find myself as that? Because of ignorance. I'm not really this creature. So, ignorance, desire, action based on desire, leading to samsara. Is called this samsara bijam, the seed of samsara. Upanishad calls it papa. Upanishad is more graphic. It's sin. These three together are sin. That's what propels us in samsara. And what does Upanishad do? It goes to the root. The root is ignorance. The moment the ignorance is removed, the desire for the world, for worldly success and pleasure will disappear. I become one with the entire universe seems to be one with me. I'm one with everybody, and everybody is one with me. I am fulfilled. I no longer have anything I want for this little body mind. Still be there, but your life will now be in the life of the cosmos. Your life will just be a blessing to others. You want really nothing for yourself at all. You're totally free. Then all the action that you do, karma will continue. You first of all, you don't identify with it, and second, it will be for the benefit of the world. It will not bind you at all. So avidya kama karma, the seed of samsara, what the Upanishad calls sin, is overcome. By that knowledge, I am Brahman. Then it says, what happens then? Anante swarge loke jeye pratitishthati. Translation is, abides as the limitless, boundless, blissful Brahman. But the original language is not that. That's the meaning of it. The original language is, in the endless heavenly world, swarge loke. But that can't be the meaning. Enlightenment is realizing your Brahman and remaining in your infinite nature as Brahman, not going to some kind of heaven. So Shankaracharya says here, Brahma Vidya Phalam Ante Nigamayati. Shankaracharya says in this final mantra, it comes to a conclusion. What comes to a conclusion? What was started with the question, Keneshitam patati preshitam mana? What impels my mind to think? What impels my eyes to see, ears to hear, and so on? That which was started is now concluded here. How is it concluded? With a statement of result. What do you get out of it? And then Shankaracharya says, Anante iti visheshanat. He says here, Anante apariyante swarge loke sukhatmake brahmani ityetat. What it means is Brahman. Why is it called heaven? Because it is bliss. It is beyond all desire, beyond all need. It's complete, endless fulfillment. Therefore, it's like heaven. But of course, much greater than that. And he says, the Ananta, the word Ananta, limitless, shows that it does not mean any kind of heaven mentioned in the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. There are many heavens which are mentioned, but they are not limitless. They have a beginning, they have an end. People can attain them through a lot of meritorious action, and when the effects of those actions are exhausted, they will fall back into this world. So they don't deserve the title limitless or infinite. There's only one limitless or infinite heaven, which is our real nature, which is Brahman. So you attain to Brahman. And then he says the word Jaya. Jaya means great, exceedingly great. And Shankaracharya remarks here, the word Jaya is important. Jayasi sarvam mahattare swatmani mukhye eva pratitishtati. Great, but without anything to qualify it. Great what? Great heaven, great world, great joy, peace, what? Just great means Brahman. Great without any qualification. You become limitless, or you realize your infinite, limitless nature. The result being na puna samsaram apadyate iti avipraya. The whole point being, this person never comes back to samsara. The game of limited existences being transferred from one zoo to another, from one cage to another, that game is over now. You are set free forever. Until the body lasts, because of the impulse of past karma, you will be called Jivan Mukta, free while living. Sri Ramakrishna shows M. M wanted to know, what's it like? And Sri Ramakrishna says, I'll show you. He takes him to a pond where there are these big fish which are roaming around freely, and nobody eats them. Nobody catches them and eats them there. That pond is still there. I've seen it. And those fish are still there. I mean, not those particular fish which Sri Ramakrishna saw, but their descendants. They're huge fish and silver, big ones. So Sri Ramakrishna takes M there, the writer of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Master Mahasaya, and says, look, how these fish, these great fish, are swimming around in this vast pond happily, freely, in great joy. Similarly, in this limitless expanse which you realize, you still have a limited, not an identity, an embodiment as this person. Till this remains, you will be like this great fish swimming in endless joy across this expanse. This is also taken from the Upanishad. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, what's the liberated one like? What's the self like? It says it's like a great fish which swims back and forth on two banks of a river. One bank is waking, the other bank is dream. From the dream experience to a waking experience, from waking experience to dream experience. Of course, there is deep sleep, but it's not a particular experience. It's an absence of particulars. So, like a great fish swimming in this ocean of Brahman. That's a beautiful example. Now, let me quickly take up one or two questions and observations. So that's the Kena Upanishad. We have completed this journey. It's a most wonderful, surprising, extraordinary Upanishad. We started with the amazing question, by what light do I have all these experiences? What I call my life. What is my life? I think, I enjoy, I suffer, I see, I hear, smell, taste, touch. I act, I do things in the world. All of it is possible because of one light. What is that? That was the question. What a great question. And the rest of the Upanishad is unpacking that question. And we remember, I'm just doing a recapitulation sort of quickly. We remember that remarkable answer of the master. It is the ear of the ear, eye of the eye, it is the mind of the mind, it is the speech of the speech. And realizing that one transcends this world and becomes free. And then he goes on to say, we don't know how to teach it. It can't be taught. It can't be known. And then he gives the great formula, one of the stunning points of the early on in the Upanishad. It is other than the known and other than the unknown. It is other than the known, other than the unknown. And then he explains, it is not something that you can see, but it is that because of which everything is seen. That alone is Brahman, not what you worship as an object here. It's not something you can hear, but that by which everything is heard. It is that alone which is Brahman, not what you worship here as this. Like this, it goes on. Then a remarkable question by the teacher to the student, test to see if the student has got it. So, do you know Brahman now? And the student's answer is also remarkable, because if he says yes, then Brahman becomes an object. Didn't I tell you it is other than the known? How can you claim it's known? And if you say no, then the whole project has failed. You have not realized Brahman. But the student says, it is, I know Brahman. It's not that I know, but it's not that I do not know also. And those amongst us who understand my statement, they are also enlightened. The teacher also says, to those who claim I have realized Brahman, I know Brahman, it is not known to them. To those who do not claim that, it is known to them. And then I would say the high point of the Upanishad, Pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate. The highest point of realization, full realization. In every experience Brahman is experienced, quote unquote experienced, is obvious. In seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, in thinking, in remembering. It is the very consciousness by which all these experiences are happening. It is the objects which are being experienced. It is the very experience itself. The knower, the knowable, and the knowledge. All three are nothing but appearances in Brahman. Pratibodha veditam matam. This endless light is revealed in every experience choicelessly, effortlessly. You don't have to practice it. It's actually being revealed right now. We just don't see it. The enlightened one sees it. And then helping us to understand this with a very nice story about the gods, Indra, Vayu, Agni, and Brahman appearing to them as the amazing, dazzling being, the Yaksha, whom they could not understand. Nobody could understand what that Yaksha is. And the gods found that their powers of burning or wind or whatever it is, nothing functioned in the presence of that Yaksha. And then finally Durga appeared, Uma Haimavati, the daughter of the Himalayas, who is the embodiment of enlightenment, Brahmajnana, who shows to Indra, this is Brahman. And then 4 meditations were taught, the lightning meditation, the winking meditation, the meditation about this mind, the movement of the mind. In every movement of the mind, you can see Brahman. And then finally, a most beautiful, lovable meditation. Brahman is the most lovable, adorable of all, Tadvanam, which is how actually we Hindus worship God, whether it is Shiva or Kali or Durga or Ganesha, Rama or Krishna, whatever it is, we make it an object of our love. That which is not an object, we make it an object of love and adoration. And that meditation is approved of here. A special name is given to the ultimate reality, Tadvanam, which means that adorable one. And then that peculiar question which we saw just now, teach me the Upanishad, which is an occasion for the teacher to say, the Upanishad is complete. Nothing else needs to be added. The realization you're Brahman is enough to liberate you. But then he follows it up with some ethical practices and disciplines, which are necessary for that liberation, that knowledge to arise. The knowledge, once it has arisen, you don't need anything else. But for that knowledge to arise, one must clean up one's life. One must be a good person before becoming a spiritual person. And then he says the result. One goes beyond samsara, one attains to Brahman, which is like the greatest of heavens because it is the greatest joy. Sukhatmani, he says, in Sukhatmani Brahmani, in the Brahman which is bliss itself, Shankaracharya explains. That is the Upanishad. Ricardo says, please comment on the kind of conviction about Brahman you're referring to, the kind of conviction the chosen beliefs fundamentalist religious people claim to have. Yes, this is not a conviction about some object of faith. God is like this, and I believe it. And that's good. That's very important for dualistic worship. in all theistic religions. If you think of God as something different from you and something that you are not experiencing right now, you need to start with faith. And there must be some kind of conviction that I really genuinely believe that God exists. Until, of course, you have an experience of God, like Sri Ramakrishna. For him, the mother, divine mother, was not an article of faith, it was a fact. But in Vedanta, we come to a clarity about ourselves, not something else. Not something fundamentalist also. I am right, you are wrong. It has no application in Vedanta. If I am Brahman, I'm convinced about it, I'll be convinced you are too. Everybody else is. You regard yourself as a body, you'll see others as body. Regard yourself as mind, you'll see others as minds. Minds means personalities. That's how normally we think of each other. But regard yourself as spirit, you will see everybody else as spirit. Not only everybody, everything has that one spirit. So this is it. It cannot be made a basis for quarreling, for violence. Can't be. It's not sectarian. Notice, nowhere in this Upanishad it says that you have to subscribe to my belief. Although it's very clearly set, Veda Sarvangani, it says it's very clearly set in the Vedic religion. It's very clear that it is a part of the Vedic religion. But the claim here is, it's not that you have to subscribe to a particular religion to be saved. You are a human being, and this is your real nature. You realize that, you are free. You can subscribe to a religion and don't realize it, you are not free. You may not subscribe to a particular religion, but you realize this, you will be free. Doesn't matter. So it can't be fundamentalist. Priyanka says, in another Upanishad, it is said the knots of the heart are broken and all doubts are dispelled. Yes. Isn't suggesting that absolute doubt-free conviction is possible only on enlightenment? The conviction that you speak of before enlightenment, I wonder how it can be absolutely doubt-free. It can be absolutely doubt-free in an intellectual sense. And it can only be true of Advaita Vedanta, nothing else. Anywhere there is an object to consciousness, you can have a doubt about that object. But about your own consciousness, it's that Descartesian clarity. It's the one thing that cannot be doubted. In that sense, one may have an intellectual conviction. It's still an intellectual conviction, backed up by a moral, austere life. It will be a great moral conviction also. It's not a belief. It's not a belief. It is something that the intellect shows it must be so. And yet that is not enlightenment. Not yet. Not yet. So the conviction that you speak of before enlightenment, I wonder how it can be absolutely doubt-free. Your own very existence, your own conscious experiences will constantly show you it must be so, it must be so. Girish says, how do Jivan Muktas deal with the problem of evil in the phenomenological world? Do they actively resist it? Are they indifferent to it as mere appearance? No, they resist it. And they deal with that appearance of evil whenever it comes in front of them as suffering humanity or suffering other sentient beings. All saints in every religion and Advaitins, you will see they respond to it by trying to remove suffering. I often say, what is the Advaitic response to suffering? What is the theory of evil, theory of suffering and evil in Advaita Vedanta? I say the first response before all philosophy is the general report of the annual report of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission. If you open it, you will find thousands of schools and colleges and even a university, thousands of dispensaries, hospitals, small dispensaries which give medicine and first aid treatment and all, to full-fledged big hospitals, relief efforts during famine, during floods, during earthquakes. This immediately responding to suffering and trying to help there, making it better. You can't remove suffering on a cosmic scale. You can't remove suffering ultimately without enlightenment. But you can certainly help a person who is suffering. You can feed the hungry and the hunger will go away. Yes, for some time. You can treat the sick. The sickness and the pain will go away. Yes, for some time, but it will go away. You can teach the ignorant. So teach means secular knowledge. So that's why Swami Vivekananda said, my God the hungry, my God the poor, my God the sick, my God the ignorant, my God the wicked. He says, he says, my God, if you believe in Vedanta, if you feel that Vedanta is true, then all these, the ignorant, the hungry, the sick, the poor, even the wicked, they can be nothing other than Brahman, nothing other than your own real nature. Do they actively resist it? Now, they resist it. You will see all of these efforts made by spiritual persons at the very upper end, at the end of the spectrum. They're transmitting spiritual knowledge, like this Upanishad and the great spiritual masters. The transmitting spiritual knowledge is actually their way of removing suffering in an ultimate sense. Not everybody will respond to this. Not everybody is ready for enlightenment. But those who are, your suffering will be removed ultimately, forever. So this is the great, unique thing. See, a school, anybody can start. I mean, many people can start a school. Many people can treat patients. Many people can help poor people in a soup kitchen. But it's only the enlightened ones who can transmit this spiritual knowledge in its pristine nature and liberate us. Nobody else can do it. We are getting this Upanishads because of some people who were enlightened and were kind enough to transmit it down to us, formulate it in a way which we can receive it and benefit from it and become enlightened ourselves. Sri Ramakrishna says it's like this. So why I'm saying this actively? Because, see, you cannot make a rule about the enlightened person. You can't say, well, once you become enlightened, you must start a school, you must start a hospital, you must go and work in a soup kitchen once you're enlightened. Not necessarily. They may, or they may not. So you can't make a rule about it. But their very presence in this world is the greatest blessing. Even somebody who is not going, starting schools and colleges and soup kitchens, say somebody like Ramana Maharshi in the mountain in Arunachala staying there. It's a great source of blessing from his time down to our time and for centuries, that this full liberation is possible. This great peace, fulfillment is possible in this life itself by this realization of who am I. Isn't that a great solution for evil and suffering? Yes, it is. Janhavi says, there seems to be two parts to this path, achieving absolute conceptual clarity and doing away with asakti, which is the strongest impediment to spiritual realization. My question is, can the conceptual clarity be used to dispel asakti, attachment? Yes, it can be. In other words, with continued Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana lead to Chitta Shuddhi. Yes, it can. In fact, all the spiritual practices are for purifying the mind. But if you look at the traditional non-dualist sannyasis in the Himalayas, the Shankara Panthi sannyasis, the Dashnabhi Sampradaya, traditional Advaita Vedanta forbids them from doing any rituals. Once you have become a monk, you are not supposed to do any rituals, the usual rituals which are part of the Hindu religion, the Vedic religion. You're actually giving up your right to do those rituals. You're supposed to stay only with Vedanta. In fact, they will also give up the upasana, the meditation on God. So they're supposed to stay only with Shravan, Manana, Nididhyasana. Now, are they all enlightened? No. Then how are they going to purify themselves? They say that this very Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana will also not only lead towards enlightenment, but till that point, it will continue to purify the mind. So Shravan, Manana, Nididhyasana by itself also is purificatory. That's the idea behind. This is a whole technical discussion on this. Vividisha sannyasa. So sannyasa for those who are not yet enlightened. But you give up every other ethical and moral, the rituals which a person, householder life does. You're stopping all that. You're not taking care of your parents. You're not earning money. You're not holding a job. You're living on public charity. You're not doing pujas. You're not, taking part in rituals. Then what's your practice? Because you're not enlightened yet. So the practice is this Vedanta Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. We are warned that having given up all karmas, all rituals, Vedanta Shravana hinastu yati patatyeva 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 natra sansaya. Having given up all the conventional religious practices, and if this monk does not continuously engage in Vedanta Shravana, in Vedanta, in listening to Vedanta, meditating upon it, reasoning upon it, is not continuously engaged in Vedanta, this monk will fall, will fall, will fall. There is no doubt about it. You will slip from the spiritual life. So, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana is especially the monk's path to Chitta Shuddhi. Those monks who have not yet uh, become fully qualified for enlightenment. Sangeeta says, when Swami Vivekananda says Jnana Yoga, the success of Jnana Yoga consists of Dhamma or restraint of the senses. Is he basically pointing to the ultimate necessity of Vasana Shunyata? Vasana Shunyata, the cleansing of all the Vasanas will come, but that depends on enlightenment, full enlightenment. Up to that point, actual struggle to restrain the senses is important. As actual austerity, ethical discipline is important. As Rick says, Satyam Bruyat, Priyam Bruyat. Yes, speak the truth and do not speak the harsh truth. Anu has made an important comment about the truth. Most delightful Upanishad, Sonali says. Yes, wonderful Upanishad. It's my second most favorite Upanishad after the Mandukya. Swayampreet, if you are there, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Maharaj Pranam.
Yes.
Maharaj, my first question is, in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the Kshetragyam Chapi Mam Vidhi. In that shloka, he says that he is the field and he is also knower of the field. So
Yes.
can we say that consciousness or Brahman or Krishna is nothing but it is Krishna only who has manifested as ignorance that is there in our mind?
Krishna is manifested as ignorance. Krishna is manifested as everything in this universe, but Krishna is existence, consciousness, place. Yes, so, but remember, ignorance has no existence of its own. So it is something which, when knowledge appears, ignorance will disappear. Why I am not agreeing with the way you're putting it? Krishna has manifested as ignorance. Because it's, as they say in the Himalayas, the sadhus say, Agyan ko siddh mat kijiye Mahatma ji, Agyan ko kaatiye. So if I am ignorance, well, all right, because you are everything that there exists. The Divine Mother is also praised as that who appears as knowledge and ignorance also. So yes, in that sense, you're right. But Krishna, what we want is the Krishna who appears as knowledge and removes the ignorance. All right then. Thank you so much. Let me do a peace chant. And usually after completing a text, we do give a Jai to Thakur Ma and Swamiji. When we monks study, each after completion of a text, we give Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji ki Jai. I'll do that. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. जय श्री गुरु महाराज जी की जय, जय महामाई की जय, जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय, जय देवादिदेव महादेव की जय।